Yes. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all today at the high-level event organized by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in collaboration with the UNCCD Secretariat to promote the upcoming UNCCD COP16 to be held in Riyadh. We gather here not only in a room filled with tremendous knowledge and influence, but at the forefront of one of the most critical environmental challenges of our time, land degradation and drought. This session is a testament to the growing global resolve to preserve and protect the very land we depend on. In just a few short months, from December 3rd to December 13th, Riyadh will proudly host the 16th session, COP16, which represents a vital opportunity to galvanize global action on sustainable land management, drought, resilience, and the protection of our most precious ecosystems. This gathering will not only address the severe consequences of land degradation, but also foster the collaboration, innovation, and commitment to a greener and more sustainable future. To open this momentous event, it is my honor to welcome a diplomatic architect who has championed the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's global efforts in many fields. Please join me in welcoming His Highness Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, the esteemed Minister of Foreign Affairs, to deliver the opening address.
Thank you.
In the name of God, most merciful, Madam, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May peace be with you. It gives me a pleasure to welcome you in this high-level event where the King Saudi Arabia prepares to receive the 16th session of UNCCD at the end of this month of this year, hosting this meeting because we would like to face the environmental challenge and in order to تحقيق the SDGs, and this proves our commitment vis-a-vis environment. We have taken many steps in Saudi Arabia, especially the SGI or MGI. The environment challenges are not limited to our countries. The fact that the Crown Prince has paid special attention, it means that we would like to succeed in this meeting and to face the challenges and in order to face drought and desertification. We have provided all means possible in order to facilitate the presence of all participants in order to participate effectively. In conclusion, we'd like to confirm it is necessary to work together to find the best means to fight the challenges and to achieve the SDGs for all countries. I thank you for your presence and hope to receive you in Riyadh.
Thank you very much, Your Highness. Next, we will have the opportunity to view a brief yet powerful video highlighting the pressing issue of land degradation. The video underscores the urgent need for collective action to protect and restore our planet's lands.
What would the land say if she could speak? Would she prevail harsh words upon us regarding her treatment? Or would she speak softly to encourage our change? It may seem she has no voice, yet we need not hear what she has to say to understand her plea. We need only take the time to look, to truly see the mistreatment land has endured because of us. She wants nothing more than to provide, to nourish, and to heal. Yet we take and we harm the very essence of life we should hold so dear. Our land. Land is a fundamental pillar of life on Earth. It encompasses the habitats of plants and animals which affect our soils, our oceans, and our skies. Land degradation impacts our water resources, soil composition, and the quality of our air. For too long, we took too little care of our soils and allowed our ever-growing populations of livestock to overgraze, surpassing the land's needs to recover and renew. The coffers of our lands have begun to run dry more rapidly than ever, turning areas which were once brimming with resources into deserts and wastelands. Environments that were once filled with wooded areas and rainforests are now vast, barren landscapes, leading to soil erosion and desertification. But more than the land is affected by such changes. Land degradation amplifies climate change, since vast amounts of carbon stored in soil and vegetation cover are released due to land degradation. People are forced out of their homes, seeking out new lands, as their resources have run scarce due to land degradation and drought. Biodiversity itself is facing a direct threat, as a great majority of life on Earth calls the forests their home. Every year, numerous plants and animal species are becoming extinct. We can no longer recuperate the sheer quantity of resources we have seized, nor can we restore the diverse species we've lost. Our modern world is actively suffering the same fate at a pace such as man has never seen. We have to shift to better practices that ensure land conservation and halt land degradation. We cannot sit back and hope the land will simply thrive for us. It is imperative that the earth itself will thrive because of us. Join us in Riyadh to strengthen global efforts to address land degradation, desertification, and drought, and create a better future for all. Our land, our future.
Thank you very much. To provide a unique Saudi perspective on COP16 and its significance, we are privileged to hear from a key leader who has been spearheading the efforts of environment, emphasizing the global importance of land, the devastating effects of degradation and drought, and how COP16 can drive solutions forward. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome His Excellency Engineer Abdulrahman Al-Fadli, Minister of Saudi Environment, Water and Agriculture, and the upcoming President of UNCCD COP16 Riyadh.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصحاب السمو والمعالي.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, dear ladies and gentlemen, peace be upon you. I am pleased to welcome you in this important meeting, which objective is to gain support for the COP16 for combating desertification, hosted by Saudi Arabia in December of this year, and to support the participation, the international participation, and this is one of the most important. That's one of the most important conventions. This is one of the most important environmental conventions since 1994, and biodiversity conventions, in order to face the major challenges. And this convention talks about or declares that we need to preserve the main lands in the earth. The lands are the most important thing, and that it is the main aspect, the main resource for human living or human survival. And so that this is the source of resources for many people around the world. In addition to forestry, the diversification of forestry, we have to work together in order to preserve these lands and in order to serve the future generations. And dear ladies and gentlemen, one of the main important objectives of this convention is to preserve the lands and to save it from a number of natural effects. 100 million hectares in a year are in several of lands around the world are facing deterioration, and this is causing many degradations, several degradations on several levels, causing damages to 7 billion people around the world. And the damages are also estimated at billions of dollars as a result of the deterioration of lands. The drought waves are affecting many people around the world. Millions of people are leaving their countries and their homes. So we have to increase and double down on the efforts to double down or to limit the effects of desertification. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a priority, and this has an incredible role to preserve the natural resources in order to achieve quality of life. The Saudi Arabian government has adopted strategies to move forward with combating desertifications. One of the initiatives is the institution of the National Center for Botanical Sciences, and to fight desertification as well, to fight the corrosion of the environment. The Saudi Arabian government is also implementing a strategy to safeguard the resources in waters, especially in this area that is full of desertification and that is suffering continuous droughts. The Saudi Arabia has also adopted several initiatives, including the Green Saudi Arabia and the Practical Convention to the Global Convention on to combat desertification that was adopted lately. The COP16 for the combating desertification is one of the efforts in order to face desertification and limit desertification in the area. This is part of the effort on biodiversity and to safeguard the lands that are facing desertification in order to achieve the objectives of the development, sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, with the participation of governments and international institutions and civil society organizations and scientific organizations, we need their support in order to build capacities and support innovation in a way that helps us to achieve the goals of the convention by 2030 and achieve the Agenda 2030 objectives. And in conclusion, I would like to thank you for your presence in this meeting, and I look forward to meeting you in Riyadh in December in COP16 so that we can achieve the objectives that would allow us to safeguard our lands against desertification and to safeguard the future of the next generations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Excellency. Our next esteemed speaker is one of the United Nations' most prominent figures, dedicated to ensuring that SDGs remain at the forefront of global efforts. Her address will focus on the critical importance of land as a resource and how land degradation and drought can undermine progress in achieving the SDGs. It is my distinct honor to introduce Her Excellency Ms. Amina J. Mohammed, United Nations Deputy Secretary General. And Your Excellency, if I'd like to ask you please to just come closer to the microphone, I think just to be more heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. His Excellency the Minister of Foreign Affairs from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and His Excellency the Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I'd also like to recognize His Excellency, our Minister of State for Foreign Affairs and Climate Envoy, who has been a long-time friend. Dear Ibrahim Tio, who is our fearless leader in the UN on this subject, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, real pleasure to join you today. I thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for its leadership in spearheading this important work, such as the Middle East Green Initiative, all this to combat climate change, and in organizing this event and leading up to the UNCCD COP16. This is a COP that marks the 30th anniversary of the Convention to Combat Desertification, a COP that intends to focus political attention on the impacts of land degradation, desertification, and drought, and a COP that must amplify solutions under the rubric Our Land, Our Future, in support of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Excellencies, action is desperately needed. Around the world, prolonged, recurrent droughts and floods are devastating and displacing communities, harming economies and taking lives and property. The impacts of land degradation affect us all. Grave socioeconomic implications are already being felt by 3.2 billion people. Losing land to degradation knocks chunks out of national economies and local livelihoods. More than 1 billion livelihoods are threatened globally. Sectors are disrupted and opportunities for small and medium-sized businesses, especially for women and girls, which represent half the world's farmers, are often lost. This hampers governments' efforts to develop and deliver a just and equitable green economic transition, and it undermines past and future efforts to deliver on many of the Sustainable Development Goals. But the reverse is also true. Action on desertification, degradation, and drought can drive progress across all of the SDGs, as shown through the leadership of Saudi Arabia. As a country experiencing the impacts of desertification and degradation firsthand, Saudi Arabia is leading efforts in the country and the region to reduce soil erosion, protecting biodiversity, and mitigating the impacts of climate change. Initiatives like the Saudi Green Initiative, which aims at restoring 40 million hectares of degraded land, is an example of the cooperation that we need. With such a holistic approach and smart investments, action on Goal 15, Life on Land, which promises sustainable land use, and action to halt and reverse damage, can be an engine for transformation. Restoration can yield multiple benefits, including improved food security, enhancing human health, meaningful green jobs, and increased resilience to shocks and climate-related risks. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as a first step, governments must show commitment at the highest levels to manage and restore land, recognizing that such action can drive progress across digital, energy, and food system transitions. Secondly, a fundamental shift is required at the country level. Supported by regional and global mechanisms and initiatives, the shift must target land tenure security and access to rural finance. Efforts by countries must also strengthen institutions so that they are capable to equip a growing young population and local communities with social protection measures, new skills, and access to technologies. Women and girls are central to a land restoration economy. They need to feel the socioeconomic benefits of their efforts in restoring the health of the land. Third, we need governments to address gaps in policy and regulation, going beyond the sectoral approaches. This means using the lens of 6 key transitions: food, energy, digital, education, social protection, and climate action. With integrated policy expertise, this can assist countries in their rapid and deep transformations to create jobs and ensure an inclusive future, particularly for women and young people. Fourth, we need governments to attract financing from all sources, domestic, private, and public. Innovative instruments can help to develop a mix of resources to address the interconnected SDG challenges. Government policies must also value and engage with cultural and traditional practices. At the same time, they should facilitate farmers' access to markets of local bankable initiatives, initiatives that have the potential to mobilize a mix of blended finance at the local level. Working with our UN country teams, we have a joint SDG fund which could help to accelerate existing initiatives while incubating and investing in national priorities that connect to land management, spanning economic, social, and environmental dimensions. The COP16 in Riyadh, and particularly the Leaders' Summit, are unique opportunities to demonstrate our global resolve for a green transition. Let us build on the leaders' call from COP15 and work towards a strong Riyadh COP16 to further collect the actions that we need to boost drought resilience and strategic investment plans for land restoration. Together, I believe in partnership, we can turn these promises into progress, we can halt desertification, we can heal our economies and accelerate the SDGs implementation for people, for prosperity, and for peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Following this, we will hear from the Babio of forestry, the Abba of forest product techniques. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me the Gidadu of UNCCD, His Excellency, Executive Secretary of the UNCCD, Ibrahim Thiaw, who will delve into the aspiration of the UNCCD leading to COP16 and discuss key outcomes of previous COP16.
Thank you. Excellencies, Excellency Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor to be with you today. I would like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for organizing this event and mostly for hosting COP16 of the UNCCD. The event today will pave the ground for the biggest and most significant UNCCD conference of the parties we have ever had over the last 30 years. COP16 in Riyadh will be the largest UN land and drought conference to date, and the first UNCCD COP to be held in the Middle East and North Africa region, which knows firsthand the impacts of desertification, land degradation and drought, and now floods. Riyadh 2024 is expected to be a turning point, a game changer for the global drought and resilience agenda. For too long, people thought that land degradation and drought are local issues to be dealt with by those governments that are directly affected and need to address it themselves. For long, desertification has been perceived as an issue for one region or two to address. Today, we know, thanks to science, that our world is totally interconnected. Scarcity of fertile land and water threatens our global security, affects our economy, our food security, and amplifies forced migration. Land use is the second largest source of greenhouse gas emissions, and land degradation leads to further loss of biodiversity and livelihood for the poor, whose only asset sometimes is land. Each year, sand and dust storms lift up to 2 billion tons of aerosol to the atmosphere, causing serious air pollution, leading to disease and economic loss. So land degradation and drought may happen locally, but they are not local issues. The food we eat, the coffee or the tea we enjoyed this morning, the clothes we wear, and part of the air we breathe are all coming from the land, often from thousands of miles from where we live. Droughts and land degradation stand, therefore, as a major global challenge impacting food security, ecosystems, production, human health, jobs, and access to water, and often leading to famine, conflicts, and mass migration. I like to say that land is the only GDP of the poor. Let us make it clear, land degradation is a serious issue, but there is a silver lining. The good news is that we can halt and reverse land loss. Indeed, land restoration provides us with multiple solutions: solutions to climate, to biodiversity, to security, and to economic stability. Large-scale land restoration is perfectly achievable. Bringing degraded land back to health is not only feasible, but it is economically and socially viable. So in Riyadh, economists will meet with business people, agronomists with investors, civil society organizations with government leaders, youth with women's group, scientists with policymakers. In Riyadh, parties are expected to agree on how to tackle the critical issue of drought. After many years of discussions and negotiations, it is time to close the loop and move on to implementation. The most vulnerable communities expect concrete results and bold decisions on drought. In Riyadh, parties are expected to move from pledges to concrete implementation on land restoration. It does not suffice to express intentions or to make big announcements. Our youth, our farmers, our women's group are all expecting to see more concrete action on land restoration. Finally, COP16 will help us understand that land loss and water scarcity have a human face. Together, we will tackle these most complex issues, and together, we will win the battle, and together, we will sail to safer destinations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We move on now to the second session of this event, which is entitled on Global Perspective on Land Degradation, Impact, Response, and Opportunities for Collaboration, the Role of UNCCD COP16 in Strengthening Global Action. And I call upon Mr. Guanzu Q Yu, Director of FAO New York office, to approach the podium, please. And his speech will be entitled The Current Challenges and Future Outlook of Land Degradation, Agriculture Systems, and Food Security.
Thank you, Chair. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of FAO, as our Director General has left in New York, I would like to thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and UNCCD for organizing this important event, and acknowledge all of our partners here today who are working collaboratively towards our common goal. UNCCD COP16, hosted by Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, is an important milestone to highlight attention to restoration of agricultural land, which is the key to transformation of sustainable, equitable, and inclusive agri-food system. We know that current agri-food system is not sustainable. The growing demand for food is placing increasing pressure on land and water resources, pushing the productive capacity of agriculture, forestry, and pastoral ecosystem to the limit, and put the food security and livelihoods of the millions of people at risk. FAO estimates that agriculture will need to produce almost 50% more food, feed, and biofuel in 2015 than it did in 2012. Nevertheless, more than 60% of human-induced land degradation is taking place on agricultural lands, which also where 95% of the world food is produced. Furthermore, over the past 40 years, droughts have affected more people than any other natural hazard, with expected increase in intensity, duration, frequency, and spatial extent in the context of climate change. Sand and dust storms also have a major negative impact on human health and environment and agriculture and food security, reducing production of crops and livestock. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that a more efficient, inclusive, resilient, sustainable agri-food system has many of the solutions to the challenges we face, including climate change, land degradation, biodiversity loss, food security, and nutrition, and achieving 2030 agenda. Avoiding, reducing, and reversing land degradation, as well as using and managing land and water sustainably, are all essential to transforming our agri-food systems to achieve better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life, leaving no one behind. However, we need political leadership, enabling policies, national strategies, investments, targeted financing, and concerted actions to make this happen. As part of global drought response community, FAO supports countries to implement COP decisions by fostering knowledge sharing and experience exchange to ensure countries can support innovative, transformative solutions for drought management and resilience building. We will continue to work with countries and partners like the UNCCD to combat desertification and droughts for a land degradation neutral world. Let us all remember that without restoration of agricultural land, the achievement of global targets of land degradation neutrality, land restoration, and zero hunger are not possible. I thank you.
Thank you very much. We move now to Astrid Showmaker, Executive Secretary of the Secretariat of the Convention on Biological Diversity, CBD, who will be giving the speech on the effects of land degradation and drought on biodiversity and the interlinkages between land and biodiversity. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the enormous efforts you're undertaking to elevate the profile of the land crisis and for identifying the Convention on Biological Diversity as one of the actors in the UN system that can contribute to addressing it. As we see it, it's one of the most pressing challenges of our time, the impact of land degradation and drought on biodiversity, and therefore also the critical need to work in synergy between global environmental frameworks, including and in particular the two COP16 that are now coming up, the COP16 of the UN Convention to Combat Desertification and the COP16 of the Convention on Biological Diversity. Degradation and drought pose severe threats to terrestrial ecosystems, affecting not only biodiversity, but also the livelihoods of millions who depend on these ecosystems for survival. So we're not just addressing here an environmental crisis, we're also addressing a social crisis and also an equity crisis. When land is degraded, the capacity of soil to support plant life diminishes, leading to reduced agricultural productivity, disrupted water cycles, and loss of habitats for species, and therefore obviously also loss of livelihoods of people. Drought only exacerbates this, as prolonged water scarcity, as we all know, stresses ecosystems and accelerates land degradation. Together, these forces then undermine ecosystem resilience, causing cascading effects across species and ecological processes, and incidentally also demonstrating clearly that some of the public debate that we have juxtaposing restoration and food security is a false juxtaposition. Restoring land is about ensuring food security. The biodiversity crisis is intricately linked to land degradation. Over 1 million species are at risk of extinction, many of them due to habitat loss, fragmentation, and the decline in the quality of ecosystems. And as plants, animals, and microorganisms face shrinking habitats, they lose the ability to adapt, to migrate, or survive under increasingly hostile conditions. And this is then, of course, exacerbated by climate change, a truly vicious circle. So therefore, the health of terrestrial ecosystems and investing in the health of terrestrial ecosystems and into biodiversity conservation is so important, as this provides the natural infrastructure that sustains life on Earth. The Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, adopted almost 2 years ago in December 22 by COP15 of the Convention on Biological Diversity, recognizes the urgent need to halt and reverse biodiversity loss and calls for implementing an ambitious target to conserve 30% of the Earth's land and seas by 2030, and restore 30% of degraded ecosystems, tackling the drivers of biodiversity loss at the same time. And effectively addressing land degradation will obviously significantly enhance these efforts. And that brings me to the importance of synergy between the Convention on Biological Diversity and the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. These issues addressed through these two processes are deeply interlinked and demand coordinated global, national, and local responses, and call on the UN system to support better coordinated action at all levels. By aligning efforts through policy and practice to restore lands, protect biodiversity, mitigate drought impacts, we can ensure a more resilient and sustainable future for all. So in closing, there is a significant opportunity over the coming weeks to push for enhanced synergies across MEAs with the triple COPs of biodiversity, climate change, and land degradation. We need to see clear statements and political ambitions coming from Cali, Baku, and Riyadh on addressing these joint crises in a cohesive and meaningful manner. And we look very much forward to work with Saudi Arabia and the other presidencies, as well as our sister secretariats, or brother secretariats, parties, and others to help deliver on the GBF, the Global Biodiversity Framework, and the land degradation neutrality targets. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The African Group Perspective on Land Challenges and Efforts to Combat Them Through Initiatives and Programs such as African Great Green Wall and Afro 100. The session and speech right now is by the African Group at the UN, which will be delivered on their behalf by Mr. Muhammad Yahya, the Counselor to the Minister of Environment and Sustainable in Mauritania.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to stress upon the fact that these notes were supposed to be given, but the Minister of Environment in Mauritania, but the Minister had to leave early with the President since the travel time has been changed. The return home has been changed. So this is her statement. The Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this is an opportunity for Mauritania to stress upon its complete commitment and its interest in everything that has to do with the sovereignty and the implementation of the UNCCD. In this aspect, Mauritania considers that all the indices, all the indications show that the COP16 that will be held in Riyadh at the end of this year, in December of this year, will be historical in all aspects, based on the fact that what is being prepared in terms of outcomes is very important that will come out of this session. Mauritania would like to also show and stress upon its commitment to develop all aspects of meteorological aspects and combating desertification because of the importance of these subjects in comparison to other subjects. Mauritania as well supports strongly and the leadership role that Saudi Arabia has been carrying on for the past years on all levels, on the continental level and on the international level, especially the initiative of the Green East, and also hosting the 35th session of the ministerial summit, Arab Ministerial Summit, that will be held in the next month to coordinate the efforts in order to achieve historical goals for the COP16. In this aspect, Mauritania would also like to stress upon the importance of the African initiatives, especially the initiative, the Green Wall Initiative, based on the fact that Mauritania is one of the co-founders of these initiatives, along with the another 11 countries, and this is the headquarters of this initiative in the country's capital. In this aspect, Mauritania stresses upon the importance of the paths that have given results in terms of performance, and the work that has been done by the UNCCD for the past few years, which led to create a great deal of difference in terms of coordination between the parties, the countries that are parties of this convention. Mauritania considers it the most important convention. I don't want to be too long. I would like to say that Mauritania would work strongly within the COP16 to support and strengthen the link between desertification and drought, as well as economic paths, knowing that these paths must be interlinked and it must be always a factor to work together so that we can guarantee a type of sustainability for the economies, for our societies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Yahya. We now move on to our second video, Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership.
From the parched fields of Africa to the drying rivers in Asia, the drought crisis touches every corner of the earth. It doesn't care who you are or where you live, it affects us all. We are losing the gifts of the land. Right now, 1 in 4 people live without reliable access to water. That's families struggling to find enough to drink, communities watching their crops wither, and children growing up with the constant fear of scarcity. If we do nothing, by mid-century, 3 in 4 will face the same fate. We are losing more than just land. We are losing life itself. The trees that once stood tall disappeared in just 2 decades. And the hardest hit? The world's most vulnerable. 1.8 billion people already living in the shadow of drought. Women and children, our future, are 14 times more likely to bear the brunt of climate-fueled disasters. If we don't act, by 2040, almost 160 million children will be living in a world where prolonged droughts are the norm. The impact on humanity is immeasurable. Prolonged droughts lead to displacement, migration, and geopolitical turmoil. We are not just losing land, we are losing homes and histories. Our world cannot wait. We cannot wait. Before things get worse, we must unite. We cannot wait for drought to hit before we act. Only proactiveness will save us. Strategic drought preparedness is not just an option, it's essential. Every proactive step we take, every dollar we invest, could mean saving a life, a community, a future. In the face of this global emergency, Saudi Arabia is stepping forward, armed with ancestral wisdom and modern innovation. Through ambitious projects and initiatives, the kingdom is leading the way, bringing air, hope, and life back to the land. But Saudi Arabia knows that no single country can solve this crisis alone. Collaborative global action is urgently needed. As the host of UNCCD COP16, the Kingdom is launching the Riyadh Global Partnership for Drought Resilience, a powerful initiative that will unite the world's efforts to fight drought and restore resilience. With this partnership, nations will work together to build a world where drought no longer dictates the fate of our people and our planet. We already know what must be done. The 3 pillars of proactive drought management, early warning systems, vulnerability assessments, and risk mitigation are our tools, but tools mean nothing without action. It's time for leadership, innovation, and a shared global vision. Governments, businesses, nonprofit organizations, financial institutions, and individuals must rise to the occasion. The most vulnerable cannot wait. We cannot wait. We must act together. Now, for our land, for our future, for every life that hangs in the balance. The time is now.
Thank you. The linkages between the U.S. key initiatives, including the Vision for Adopted Crops and Soils, and the UNCCD Action Agenda will be explained by Dr. Kerry Fowler, U.S. Special Envoy for Global Food Security. Dr. Kerry? Okay. Right, maybe you can join us later on. So we move on to our next speaker. The impact of land degradation and drought on local and global economies, including economic stability, including the role of financial institutions and the business sector in addressing land degradation and drought. Jim Joy Neo, Managing Director at the World Economic Forum, WEF. Please approach the podium. I think they left, right? No problem. I think we're going to move on to you, Your Excellency, addressing the growing water, climate, and food crisis through the power of science, innovation, and partnerships. Ms. Ismahan El-Ofi, Executive Managing Director of CGIAR. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the merciful.
Thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for really hosting COP16. It's going to be a huge moment. Distinguished colleagues, we face an unprecedented convergence of challenges: climate change, water scarcity, and food insecurity. They are all threatening the food security and livelihoods of millions, particularly in dry land, like those we find in the Middle East and Africa. We all know that right now we have about 750 million people that are experiencing hunger. And as the temperature rises, this number could increase dramatically. So we talk about plus 1.5, plus 2, plus 4. Plus 2 degrees, we will have 189 million more people going under the hunger line. Plus 4, we will get 1.5 billion people more in the hungry category. So the link between hunger and desertification is very clear. Dry land are home to 38% of global population, and dry land support 44% of agriculture in the Arab world. They are particularly vulnerable to climate change. The UN predicts desertification could displace up to 50 million people by 2030. That's around the corner. This will further drive biodiversity loss, projected to reach up to 46% by 2050. And it will most certainly compound the global food crisis. And again, we will get more of hungry people or starving people from hunger. While the challenges are severe and they are very interconnected, the good news is that the solutions are within reach. Through the combined power of science and innovation and partnership, we already have many solutions that we can scale up right now. The bad news is that the more we wait, the more it's going to cost us. A study by colleagues of mine, Joanne Joachim, 4 years ago, said if we want to end SDG 2, which is hunger, it costs us about $12 billion per year. The same study with the same criteria and the same model says today, if we want to end hunger, it's going to cost us $27 billion. So we moved from 12 to 27 in 4 years. Imagine, and every year it's going to cost us more, and every degree it's going to cost us more. CGR, which is the world's largest agricultural research network, is developing solutions. We need to put that research and innovation in the hands of smallholder farmers, producers, policymakers, and consumers. This is how we tackle climate change and transform fragile food systems to much more resilient food systems. For instance, CGR breeding network have released resilient barley, wheat, and legume varieties that thrives in arid conditions. Drought-tolerant barley have been scaled across North Africa and West Asia, enhancing productivity by up to 40%, even under water stress conditions. Zambia this year wouldn't have produced anything if they didn't use the maize varieties that come from our center in Mexico, CIMMYT. In Tunisia, soil conservation techniques like contour bending and water harvesting have significantly reduced soil erosion, improved water retention, and boost crop yield by about 30%. Another example is the Rewater MENA that addresses water scarcity by promoting safe water reuse practices. This is vital for dry land where efficient water management is essential to stability and productivity. And of course, there are many digital tools that will allow us to know exactly what we need to do in every corner of the world to produce better. But the integrating of the innovation into bundles, tailor-made for a specific landscape where we see the most powerful result, and that's what we have to do more of. For example, the conservation agriculture in crop livestock system approach by integrating crop, forages, trees, and livestock, farmers in West Africa have improved productivity while restoring soil health. In Ethiopia, for example, the project helps smallholder farmers to adopt conservation agriculture techniques such as reduced tillage, crop rotation, integrated crop livestock system, leading to increased crop yield by up to 50%. The new project that we are betting on, which is called Integrated Desert Farming Project, it's another vivid example of impact. It combines innovation like water-efficient irrigation, climate-smart crops, sustainable soil management, and the model has been already piloted in Egypt and have reclaimed 250,000 hectares. This year, the UNCCD COP16 will be hosted for the first time in an Arab country. This is an opportunity to scale up all these efforts by leveraging partnership and raising awareness about scientific innovation. We can make strides towards mitigating desertification. Our engagement with the UNCCD offers a platform to share knowledge, engage with policy dialogue, and launch new initiatives to combat these crises. So we are working hard on the solutions. What we need is to ensure that there is sufficient investment. The returns are compelling. For every dollar in agriculture R&D, investors see $10 worth of benefits. So I urge all of you to invest in and support this science-based innovation that addresses the growing water, climate, and food crises. With collaboration and science, we can build a more resilient and food-secure future for dry land and beyond. And to close, I want to just say that the solution is in 3 innovations. The first innovation, it's leadership. And I just talked to you about it. We need a novel innovation. And I think countries like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia can make it. The second is technological, and I gave you many examples. And the third one, it's definitely institutional, including a reform of the UN. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're ready for what's coming. The role of indigenous people and women in land restoration efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me Ms. Hindu Omaro Ibrahim, environmental activist.
Thank you very much. Sabah al khair. Firstly, I'm really honored and thank you for organizing this event from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You know, as indigenous peoples, we do recognize that, and we do it always. We come from land, and we are going back to land. You can be prince, princess. You can be head of state. You can be homeless, that we are seeing even in New York, or homeless from the land degradation, or drought, or floods. You will go back to the land. And just if you are lucky, you go back to this land. So that's why we do understand the respect of the land, and we respect it. We respect the land. We treat it with the respect without instructions. we know how to live in harmony with the nature. And we ask others to live in harmony with it. And asking others, it's asking all of you here to take your responsibility, to take a right decision at this COP. How we can do that? In 3 things. COP in Saudi Arabia going to be the last environmental COP of the year. After the biodiversity, the climate, we are going to Saudi Arabia to end the years. Let us end it beautifully. End it by having a bold decisions politically to change the game from talk to the action. A decision where the head of state can attend to say they are interesting and they have to change the life of peoples. The decision where the ministers can attend to take a right program that they will get back home on the land restoration. The place where indigenous peoples, women, youth can participate equitably in those decisions from the high level to the technical, to the deliberation, into the projects. And we need all of us to focus in this COP to put the synergy, as the executive secretary said, the synergy between the 3 Rio Conventions. Because as indigenous women, I know there is no square miles of climate change, square miles of biodiversity, and square miles of the land restorations. All is interconnected. So we need interconnection onto the action, into the political decisions. So doing the synergy between the 3 Rio Conventions can be happen in that COP in Riyadh. And at the same time, synergy between the secretariat must be happen. The 3 secretariats must go to Riyadh and deliver how they can work together. And of course, finally, to do that, we need the finance. I am expecting from all of you to have not only announcement or pledge, but the real money on these conventions of desertifications to allow us all restore the land at home. Give the projects to the women and men that deserve it, because they are all living, as Ibrahim said, from the drought to the floods, and that is what's happening in Chad. Within the 5 months, we have the big drought that killed thousands of people, and now we are living floods that displace over than 2 million people, killed hundreds of people, disappear. We are losing our land. So we need this finance at that COP to help the communities to cope and be adapt. So please, show up in Riyadh, show up with a bold decisions politically, with the actions, with the funding, and think about the peoples. Think about yourself. You come from land, you go back to land. Which legacy you wanted to leave in the earth? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hindu. I'd like to call on now for Mr. Anton Garcia, Director of Spanish Cooperation Agency, who will be delivering a speech on behalf of the International Drought Resilience Alliance, IDRA, the importance of building drought resilience and the role of IDRA. Anton?
Thank you very much, and I have the unfortunate pleasure of speaking, making an intervention right after the previous one, but I'll try to do my best. This is a topic we should all care very deeply. The environmental community, the development community. I'm the head of a development agency that takes care of poverty, inequalities, but also climate. This is a topic that is relevant. There is no north and south. 42% of Spain's land is subject to desertification. There is a high risk of desertification. This is also a priority of our development cooperation. We are spending, or I'd rather say investing, more than 100 million euros a year on climate finance, including drought resilience. This is about the soil, but it's also about water, how we use scarce resources as water, the human rights to act to water, It is also about planet, but people and prosperity. So SDG 15 is crucial for all other SDGs, SDG 1, SDG 2, virtually all of them. And unfortunately, droughts are becoming longer and more frequent, as we just heard, intense and unpredictable. And they are affecting new regions every day due to climate change. Again, you know, the matter of resilience is not, there's no difference between north and south, east and west. The solutions are there. We heard them. Some of them lie in cutting-edge science and innovation, and others actually in the traditional knowledge of indigenous groups, as we just have heard. We just need the political will, and as we were reminded earlier on, also the finance, certainly in COP16, and also from the development perspective next year in the Seville Conference for Financing for Development, where we need to make sure there is space to finance and address all these environmental crises, including drought resilience. So UNCCD COP16 will be a milestone under the leadership of our Saudi friends in the global efforts to combat desertification, land degradation, and drought. We should therefore strive for the adoption of ambitious decisions that are aligned with our priorities. Many topics will be discussed in the COP, including gender, CSO involvement, drought, the core budget of the convention, and the midterm evaluation of the strategic framework. But perhaps the one that has the potential to be the most political is indeed drought. And COP will have to decide what kind of policy instruments should be adopted to enhance drought management and governance at all levels and support a shift from reaction to actually action, and from a reactive approach to a proactive approach. Spain invites all parties to support the adoption of ambitious instruments, ensuring that they can be supported by all parties, that they are cost-effective, and that the approach that is adopted is responsive to other concerns and interests, like gender-responsive, integrated, and participatory. Furthermore, it will be key to ensure that any decisions that are made at UNCCD COP16 build on existing initiatives and help to leverage synergies between different organizations and processes. And I would like to recall here the outcomes of the Drought Resilience Plus 10 conference and the 1st and 2nd October in Geneva at the WMO headquarters. IDRA, the International Drought Resilience Alliance, was launched at the UNFCCC COP27 Leaders Summit at Sharm el-Sheikh, and following the outcomes of the inaugural steering committee meeting of March 2023, the IDRA journey has been very intense, and we had many friends and partners along the way. The membership has increased to up to 62 members, 38 countries and 27 organizations, and the Alliance has been very active in building and consolidating all its pillars. There are a number of initiatives ongoing, and I would like to highlight the establishment of the process to establish an International Drought Resilience Observatory within the framework of IDRA, a system that we think could improve drought resilience monitoring at the global level, and that which should support also future work on drought resilience. We would like, in this regard, to emphasize the significance of developing strategies to withstand drought conditions and the pivotal role of IDRA in achieving this objective, and we very much welcome the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia initiative, the Riyadh Global Drought Resilience Partnership that will be launched by the Kingdom at COP16, stressing the need to work together and seeking synergies with IDRA. So again, thanking our Saudi friends for their leadership, and also the UN Convention for supporting all these processes. We look very much forward to strong outcomes in Riyadh. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I did give heads up about Hindu speech. So now in our last and final video, which is enriching the agenda of UNCCD COP16, which is up to come. Video, please.
Welcome to the defining moment, the turning point, where we present our full agenda for change, the initiatives that will shape our planet's future. From December 2nd to 13th, Riyadh will be the heart of a global movement uniting nations, communities, and individuals in the fight against land degradation, desertification, and drought. Over 400,000 square meters transformed into a hub of action. In the Blue Zone, over 200 events will host negotiations among government officials, shaping the global agenda on land restoration for a more sustainable future. The green zone will pulse with the energy of real-world solutions, open to all who want to be part of the change. The space will be dedicated to technical discussions, scientific research, and for governmental, private, and nonprofit organizations to showcase products addressing desertification. The Green Zone is designed to inspire a wide spectrum of audiences from businesses and NGOs to youth groups, indigenous communities and women, in particular, who are actively combating drought in their societies. As the conference unfolds, each day will bring a new focus through the thematic days, guiding us through critical issues. Land degradation neutrality is our goal. From the vast landscapes restored by the Middle East Green Initiative to the communities empowered by the Great Green Wall, witness the power of land regeneration. Food security starts with healthy land. Agri-Food System Day will highlight the farmers, innovators, and changemakers pioneering sustainable agriculture and regenerative practices that nourish both people and the planet. Governance Day will turn the focus to policy frameworks, as subnational governments showcase how local actions and secure land tenure can create global impact. The fight for our planet is a human fight. We will hear from youth leaders, indigenous communities, and women at the forefront of change sharing their stories, inspiring action and driving progress. Science, Technology, and Innovation Day will bridge the gap between research and action. From satellite monitoring to cutting-edge apps, discover how technology empowers communities and accelerates land restoration efforts worldwide. Without water, life as we know it would not exist, which is why resilient water systems are crucial in the face of climate change and droughts. Together, we will explore innovations in water management, early warning systems, and climate-smart agriculture that are building a more resilient future. Finally, turning ambition into action requires investment and private sector participation. On the last day, global leaders and financial institutions will unveil innovative funding strategies and unlock billions in sustainable investments to scale up land restoration globally. The time to act is now. This is our moment to shift the tide on global land degradation, desertification, and drought. COP16 is a call to action for the international community, for businesses, for individuals. The path forward is clear. It leads us back to the land, and through it, to a more just and sustainable world. Because the health of our planet is the health of our people. Together, we can accelerate global action on land degradation, desertification, and drought.
Thank you very much. And we now move on to the country interventions. And we start off with Ms. Zulfiya Suleymanova, Special Envoy of the President of Kazakhstan on climate issues.
Thank you very much, Your Excellencies. Many countries already face land-related challenges, such as droughts, desertification, and erosion due to climate change. Land degradation is one of the challenges posed to sustainable development and leads to annual loss of ecosystem services estimated at $6 and $10 trillion annually. The degrading land results in release of soil carbon along with nitrous oxide, making it one of the biggest contributors to climate change. At the same time, soil stores more carbon than the planet's biomass and atmosphere combined. According to estimates, an increase of just 1% of the carbon stocks in the top meter of soil will be greater than the annual CO2 emissions from fossil fuel burning. Consequently, promotion of sustainable land management practices is not only beneficial for the communities who depend on it, but also are a solution to combat climate change. Kazakhstan and Central Asia broadly is among the regions that are most vulnerable to climate change. Specifically, one of the shapes that the climate change takes in the region is desertification and soil degradation, and that can be really seen from the disaster that is happening in the Aral Sea region, where you see the sea going away and leaving just the masses of desert lands. Nowadays, over 20% of our lands are degraded, and this trend is continuing. According to estimates, droughts and floods, the two interconnected challenges in Central Asia, will cause loss of 1 and 2 percentage points of GDP per annum, while crop yields are projected to decrease by 30%, leading to around 5 million internal climate migrants by 2050. That is why Kazakhstan looks forward to the upcoming COP16 on desertification in Riyadh, which will provide us with an opportunity to work jointly on concrete solutions to revive lands, combat desertification, and shape positive changes. In other words, as it was mentioned previously, Kazakhstan will show up in Riyadh as it was requested. And as land loss and water are two sides of the same coin, tackling desertification is tackling water scarcity. I was not expecting to speak before my French colleague and my French friend, but I think I will leave this role to make an announcement to my French colleague. But we're looking forward to COP16 desertification in Riyadh, and we're looking forward to work both with UNCCD and Saudi Arabia on making this COP very meaningful and indeed to really make sure that the three Rio Conventions are interconnected, that we really deliver on concrete results and tangible solutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to Ms. Barbara Pompili, Special Envoy of the French President on Water.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Very happy to be with you here. France applauds the engagement and leadership of Saudi Arabia in collaboration with the UNCCD team. So this conference will take place at an important moment, a moment where finally conscious raising has never been more important on the interconnection between the questions of desertification, climate change, biodiversity loss, as well as all their consequences on our societies and our economies. And this this awareness allows us to better envisage concrete and efficient solutions, innovations, sharing our experiences, nature-based solutions, taking into account the most vulnerable populations, innovative finances. The list is long on the importance of innovation. So this is why France is very happy to contribute to this cooperation by organizing with Kazakhstan, the World Bank, and of course working closely with the Saudi Arabian Kingdom, the One Planet Summit that will take place in March 2025. On the desertification, that will be key for the fight against desertification. So this One Planet Summit will be an incubator of solutions that, of course, will be linked to the restoration of degraded soils. We hope that this One Water Summit will help contribute to the success of COP16, and we are looking forward to working together for this success. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pompili. I now would like to call Dr. Osama Faqiha, the Deputy Minister of Environment, Water and Agriculture for the Environment Affairs, and the advisor for the President of COP16 to please give us the closing remarks.
In the name of God, and prayer and peace and prayer be on the Prophet Muhammad.
It is really our great, really pleasure and honor to really welcome you, and we thank you for your participation in this event leading to our journey to Riyadh to conclude our, three conventions, the Biodiversity Convention in Colombia and Climate Convention in Azerbaijan, and finally we all land in Riyadh, inshallah, together in December to really wrap it up and around the Convention on Land. And I always believe this is the baseline convention of all the conventions because it is on land that we all live. All our fresh water is on land, our forest on land, our farms, our cities on land. We eat from what the lands give us, and we drink from the waters of the rivers, the lakes, and the underground water on the lands. And we have a saying in Arabic which says, وَكُلَّمَا فَوْقَ التُّرَابُ تُرَابُ. that is on land is from land. Our minerals are coming from land. The aluminum we extract, the steel we get, is from the land. The building material from the land. And I mentioned the food and all others. So this land is really the essence of this convention is all about. And it's time to really pay attention to land. Land degradation is already significant. We already have significant commitment of about 1.5 billion hectares. The world is not delivering. The world is not delivering. We are not moving in the right direction. Since 2015, since we came together and we agreed on the land degradation neutrality targets, not only we are not making progress, we are moving in the wrong direction. Not only that, many countries did not even have commitments. And those countries who had commitments, they are not delivering. So we'd like to really all come to Riyadh. For those countries who did not commit to really announce their commitments to stop land degradation in Riyadh. And we all commit together to really deliver on land restoration, enhance conservation, and have a vision for 2030 and beyond to combat land degradation, desertification, and drought. And we cannot do it alone. Saudi Arabia, as the host country, as the upcoming presidents of COP16, will exert all its effort, will spare no effort at all to really create the environment conducive for a fruitful discussion. But really, we cannot achieve this ambition without all of us, the countries, the governments, international organizations, the private sectors, the women and the youth, and all stakeholders coming together and committing to action. We want commitment to action. We want implementation on the ground. And that's why we all look forward to your active participation to wrap it all, because an investment in land is an investment in climate resilience. It is an investment in biodiversity. It is an investment in food security. It is an investment in water security and social well-being. An investment in political stability. By investing in land, we are not taking anything from climate or from biodiversity. We are actually just amplifying and having a multiplier effect. We cannot do it without you. We are waiting for you in Riyadh. And we are, we are preparing the home for you, as they said. حياكم الله جميعا في الرياض. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much, Dr. Osama. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for being patient with us today and having this wonderful session. And we hope to see you all in Riyadh in December. And please don't forget your jackets. Thank you all. Yes.